weren't supposed to hear this. What I'm about to tell you was meant to vanish, buried beneath the desert and the silence of men who swore never to speak again. The crash everyone thinks they know, Roswell, was only half the story. The real secret wasn't the debris or the craft. It was what survived. And for 5 long years, it lived among us, studied, questioned, and then erased. Today, we dive into the secret they buried alive. Part 1. The briefing that shouldn't exist. They told me the room didn't exist, that I remember the hum, that cold fluorescent buzz, and the way the colonel wouldn't look anyone in the eye. We sat 12 of us around the steel table at Kirtland Field. No rank, no names, just clearance badges, red, black, and one color I'd never seen before. When the lights dimmed, the reel started to roll. A flicker, a hiss, and then the desert came alive on screen. It wasn't Roswell. It was Corona, New Mexico, 25 miles southwest, June 1947. The film was grainy, silent at first, then the narrator's voice cracked through the speakers. Recovery operation. Incident classified. Biological presence confirmed. My stomach turned. The footage showed the wreckage, not round, but oval, like an egg torn open from the inside. Metal that shimmered without reflecting light. Men in gas masks dragging out twisted shapes. And then, one of them moved. A twitch, a flicker of breath. Someone shouted. The film jumped frames. Then, blackout. Part 2. The Survivor. They said it lived for 5 years. We called it EBE-1, but most of us whispered another name, the Survivor. It was taken first to Kirtland Field, then transferred under heavy guard to Los Alamos. Every movement, every sound it made was logged. But the strangest thing was this: it didn't speak, not in words. It projected. At first, it was flashes, colors, pulses, patterns, then faces, then thoughts. They said if you stared too long into its eyes, you'd see your own death reflected back, not as a vision, but as a memory you hadn't lived yet. 2 men in the observation wing refused to come back after that. One drank himself blind. The other disappeared into the desert one night and was never found. They told us it was non-aggressive, but I remember what it said, or showed, during the final session. We did not crash. We were brought down. That line was redacted in every official transcript. I know, because I was the one who blacked it out. Part 3. The second crash. 2 years later, in 1949, another rancher stumbled upon the remains of a similar craft near Horse Mesa, west of Magdalena. Same design, same burn patterns, same impossible metal. But this time, no survivors. Or so they told the public. The truth? The second craft was already decayed when they found it, half buried in sandstone, and inside were 3 bodies, identical to the survivor.
Each positioned like they'd been trying to shield something at the center of the cabin. A rectangular block, translucent like glass, but pulsing faintly from within. The scientists thought it was plexiglass. Years later, they discovered it was the power source. 0-point energy, infinite, self-sustaining. The same material we eventually found fused into the skin of the living one. Part 4. The Interrogation. By 1950, they moved the survivor to a deeper facility. Not Area 51, that came later. This was S4's ancestor, hidden inside the Sandia Mountains. You needed 3 escorts just to open the final door. I remember the air, cold, recycled, lifeless. And there it sat, under glass. Its eyes followed you even when it wasn't moving. The colonel once asked it, "Why here? Why now?" No response. Then a pulse of light ran across its skin, bioluminescent like static underwater. The monitor spiked, and in everyone's heads came a voice. "You burned the sky." We froze. It wasn't anger. It was sorrow. Someone whispered, "It means Hiroshima." Another said, "No, Trinity." It knew about the bomb. It knew what we'd done to our own planet. And maybe that's why they came. Part 5. The Lies We Built. After that day, every man in that program was split into 2. The part that followed orders and the part that couldn't sleep. They buried everything under new labels: Project White Light, Operation Moondust, Blue Fly. Different names, same secret. And the UFO community? They were fed crumbs, leaks planted deliberately to keep them chasing their tails, books written by people who never held a clearance badge, witnesses ridiculed until they begged to be forgotten. Because if they ever got too close, they'd find the one truth we couldn't erase. There was communication. The survivor had given us coordinates, not of a homeworld, of a warning. Part 6. The coordinates. I saw them once during a midnight transfer briefing. 3 points, a triangle over the Pacific. The Dragon's Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and a 3rd point buried beneath the ice of Antarctica. The colonel said, "They're gates." Someone else said, "They're prisons." But no one dared to find out. The survivor's vitals started failing after that. The light beneath its skin dimmed. Its pulse, if you could call it that, slowed to 1 every 30 seconds. Then one night in 1952, it stopped. Or at least, we thought it did. Hours later, the cameras caught movement, faint but real. The body was gone. All that remained was a fine layer of dust glowing faintly under ultraviolet light. They sealed the chamber, burned the records, and ordered everyone present transferred or discharged. 2 months later, a fire destroyed the entire lower facility. No survivors, officially. Part 7. The Secret Film. Decades passed. I moved through the system, counter-intel, disinformation, psychological operations. But some memories rot slower than others.
One night in 1984, I was called into a sub-level screening room in Washington. A colonel, different face, same eyes, handed me a film canister. No label, just numbers. 47 Corona EBE1. It was the same footage from that first day, but longer, uncut. And in the final 2 minutes, the camera panned across the recovery site one last time. There, in the dirt, lay a soldier, motionless. His hand clutched something small, metallic, and unfamiliar. When they pried it open, the light inside pulsed 3 times, slow, deliberate, before going dark. On the tape, someone muttered, "It's still transmitting." Then the film ended. That canister was ordered destroyed, but it wasn't, because I took it. Part 8. The Echoes of Corona. You've seen them, the sudden flares on radar, The crafts that vanish at impossible speeds, the orbs above nuclear sites. Each one traces back to that same energy signature from 1947. The Pentagon calls them UAPs, but they're not unidentified. They're unacknowledged. Every major nuclear base in the United States has logged identical anomalies, hovering, pulsing, silent. And every time, the system glitches just before recording the evidence. It's not coincidence. It's a message repeating across decades. We're still watching. Part 9. The Replication Project. Around 1961, scientists at Wright-Patterson cracked part of the energy device's structure. They built a prototype reactor the size of a briefcase, one capable of powering an entire city block. Then the project vanished. Funding pulled, staff reassigned. The device missing. Rumor says it was integrated into a craft reverse-engineered under Project Red Sun. A test flight occurred in Nevada, 1964. The ship lifted and then folded, not exploded, folded into itself and vanished. It reappeared 40 seconds later, 12 miles away. Every instrument inside was fused, and in the cockpit lay a melted headset, the same kind found in the alien craft. The survivors' technology responded to human touch, but not to human intent. Whatever intelligence powered it chose not to share. Part 10. The Visitor's Return. By the mid-1980s, strange signals began appearing over Los Alamos again. Triangular formations, pulse-coded transmissions. I was brought back for a final consultation. The general looked tired, afraid. He played the transmission through a low-frequency monitor. 3 tones, then silence. Then a voice. Do not repeat the mistake. They decoded partial context. It wasn't language, it was command structure, warning sequence. And the coordinates? Same 3 points as before. Bermuda, Dragon's Triangle, Antarctica. Whatever they were warning about, we ignored it. Because we always do. Part 11. The Forbidden Autopsy. In 1997, after 50 years of denial, a rumor spread about a leaked autopsy tape. People called it a hoax, but I knew better.
Because the hands performing that autopsy, the trembling hands cutting into gray flesh, belonged to someone I trained with. And what the world saw was only a reconstruction. The real footage is stored in a vault beneath Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, under a code name so bland you'd never look twice. Medical Sample 22B. The original film doesn't end with the dissection. It ends with the creature's eyes snapping open. And the sound that follows? It isn't a scream. It's a signal. A tone so low it shakes the glass. One scientist collapsed. Another's nose bled. The camera cut out exactly 3 seconds later. The timestamp reads 07/3/1952, 03:13 a.m., hours after the survivor was declared dead. Part 12. The cover-up evolves. The government learned something from that night. Not how to hide the truth, but how to control it. They created divisions within divisions, each believing they held the whole secret. They fed the public leaks, movies, and misinformation until the real events blurred into fiction. But even lies can't silence resonance. The same frequencies recorded at the crash sites have been detected near Antarctica's Lake Vostok, deep beneath the ice. An anomaly pulses there every 47 hours. Identical pattern, identical tone.
like a heartbeat under the world. And every time it pulses, satellites over both triangles flicker. Then, nothing. As if something vast opens for a moment and then closes again. Part 13. The Confession. I've carried this for decades, and now I think they're listening again. My phone glitches at night. Voices on empty channels whisper my name. The same hum I heard in that briefing room vibrates through my walls. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's the signal. But I know this: the survivor never truly died. Its essence, whatever it was, became part of our systems, our frequencies, our machines. Every time we broadcast, every time we send a signal to the sky, something answers back. Faintly, almost imperceptibly, but it's there. I think that's what it wanted. Not invasion, not peace. Integration. Part 14. The Final Transmission. Last month, a classified transmission from an Antarctic research array was intercepted. The operator who leaked it vanished 48 hours later. The recording is 3 minutes long. Static. Wind. Then a voice. Faint. Mechanical. Familiar. The survivor remembers. The signal ended with a flash, not of light, but of absence. Every sensor went dark for exactly 47 seconds. When power returned, the coordinates on their monitors had changed, forming a perfect triangle over the United States. Los Alamos, Kirtland, Wright-Patterson. The same path it took when it first arrived. The cycle is closing. The warning. You were never supposed to know this, but now that you do, you'll start to notice the hum too. The flicker in the lights, the distortion in radio static. Because once the signal touches you, it doesn't let go. And somewhere, deep beneath the ice, something old and patient is waking up again. It isn't coming to invade. It's coming to collect. This message will be denied, discredited, and buried, like all the others. But remember the sound you're hearing now, that low, vibrating pulse under your heartbeat. That's not interference. That's them, listening back.